If you feel that no one understands you, you are right. No one understands you, and that's not a tragedy. It's a miracle waiting to be seen. Because to be understood means to be reduced to someone else's idea. And you are not an idea. You are a living, breathing mystery. You are something that not even you have completely understood yet. So how can others? All your life, you have been craving this strange thing to be understood, to be seen. You want someone to look into your eyes and finally say, I get you. But tell me, what is there to get? You are constantly changing. You are not the same person you were yesterday. Even now, as you listen to my words, you are shifting your thoughts, your feelings. Your inner space is rearranging itself. So when you ask to be understood, what version of you are you referring to? The one from yesterday? The one from 5 minutes ago? Or the one being born right now? This is why people suffer. Because they seek something impossible. They want a static picture of a dynamic reality. They want someone to freeze the river of their being and say, ah, now I understand you. But the moment it is frozen, it is dead. Understanding, real understanding, happens only in silence, not in the mind, not in words, not in labels. It happens in presence. You feel misunderstood because you have been living surrounded by people who also do not understand themselves. How can the blind recognize color? How can the asleep recognize your awakening? You are trying to get water from a well that has long gone dry. The loneliness you feel is not a punishment. It's a sign that your consciousness has begun to grow beyond the limits of the herd. But look, here is the paradox. The more conscious you become, the less you will be understood. And that's how it should be. You see, understanding comes from similarity. People can only meet you at the depth they have met themselves. So when you begin to travel inward, when you start peeling away the layers of personality, when you begin to live from your essence, suddenly, the language of the world stops fitting. You start speaking from the heart, while others speak from memory. You start moving from silence, while others move from noise. And then, of course, they can't understand you. Yet this misunderstanding is divine. It is an invitation to drop the need for approval, to stop performing for others. You are not here to be understood. You are here to be true. You are not here to fit in. You are here to wake up. An awakening is a lonely journey at first, because truth is not a social event. It is an individual revolution. When I was a young man, I too felt misunderstood. I would speak and people would hear something entirely different. I would say light, and they would interpret darkness. I would say freedom, and they would hear danger. It used to hurt until I realized something extraordinary. I didn't need to be understood. I needed to be real. And the moment I dropped the need to be understood, I became free. That's the moment you begin to live authentically, when you no longer translate yourself into the language of others. If you feel no one understands you, it's because you have outgrown the collective dream. You are beginning to wake up from the hypnosis of the crowd. You are starting to see that almost everyone lives in masks, in rehearsed roles, in borrowed opinions. And here you are, feeling different and calling that difference a problem. It is not a problem. It is your birth into individuality. Do not rush to be understood. Instead, learn to understand yourself. Sit with your own silence. Let your own mystery unfold. Because when you understand yourself deeply, you no longer crave being understood. You start enjoying being real. Then, even when the world misunderstands you, there is peace in your heart. You smile because you know they cannot see you. but you see them clearly. Remember this: misunderstanding is the price of awakening, but it is also its protection. The world cannot steal what it cannot understand. The deeper you go, the safer your truth becomes. So instead of fighting the feeling that no one understands you, bow to it. Let it become your teacher. Because through that loneliness, existence is whispering, now. You are ready to know yourself. You see, the problem begins when you start trying to explain yourself. The moment you explain, you already distort. Words are poor ambassadors of truth. They can describe a shadow of your being, but never the whole sky. And when you try to make people understand you through words, you shrink the vastness of your inner world into sentences. And those sentences are received by minds full of noise, prejudice, and projection. So they don't hear you. They hear themselves. That's why you can speak from your heart and still be met with silence or confusion. Because most people don't listen to understand. They listen to respond, to defend, to compare. They are too busy protecting their own identities to see yours. It's like trying to show a sunrise to someone who insists on keeping their eyes closed. You can describe the colors, the warmth, the beauty, but unless they open their eyes, your words are wasted. This is why I say, don't fight misunderstanding, transcend it. The only real connection happens in silence. Have you noticed? Sometimes, sitting with someone in total stillness, no words, no effort, suddenly there is understanding, a meeting of being, not of ideas. That is love. That is communion. All else is noise. When you insist that others must understand you, you are unconsciously asking them to agree with you, to validate you, to mirror you. But that need comes from fear, the fear of being alone. And yet, aloneness is the very space where truth flowers. You must first learn to stand alone before you can truly meet another. Otherwise, you are not meeting. You are clinging. You are using the other as a mirror for your insecurity. So the question is not, why doesn't anyone understand me? The real question is, why do I need them to? Look closely, and you will see it's because you have not yet met yourself fully. You are still searching for your reflection in other eyes. And the tragedy is, no mirror can reflect your soul. Only awareness can. One day, when you stop explaining yourself, when you stop chasing understanding, something magical happens. You start hearing existence instead of people. The rustling of the trees, the silence between sounds, the rhythm of your own breath, these begin to communicate with you in a language beyond words. And in that moment, you realize the universe has always understood you. You were simply talking to the wrong audience. Look at the Buddha, at Jesus, at Lao Tzu. None of them were understood in their time. How could they be? They were speaking from a dimension that ordinary minds could not perceive. Their silence was too vast, their light too bright. And yet, thousands of years later, people still gather around their words, trying to decode them. Misunderstanding turned into mythology. So, if you feel no one understands you, take it as a compliment. It means you're speaking from your truth, not from the crowd. But this journey is not easy. The mind will rebel. It will whisper. Maybe if you explain a little more. Maybe if you prove your goodness, your intentions. Don't fall for that trap. Every time you explain yourself, you hand over your power. You start performing. You start living for the audience. And a performer can never know truth, because the performer is always acting, never being. Silence is your freedom. When you embrace being misunderstood, something profound shifts inside you. You stop trying to control perception. You stop trying to edit your soul. And suddenly, energy that was wasted in convincing others becomes available for living, for awareness, for joy. You start laughing at how ridiculous it was, all those years spent trying to make others see you, when all along you had eyes of your own. And here's the paradox again. The moment you no longer need to be understood, people start feeling your authenticity. They might still not understand you intellectually, but they feel something, a presence, a vibration, a stillness. That's how true communication happens. Not through the mind, but through being. So let it be. Let them misunderstand. Let them create stories about you. Let them judge. Their misunderstanding cannot touch your truth. It's like children throwing stones at the moon. Noisy, perhaps, but harmless. The moon continues to shine. When you stop fighting misunderstanding, when you allow yourself to be the moon, silent, radiant, misunderstood, you begin to taste freedom. Because freedom is not about others agreeing with you. Freedom is being able to live your truth, even when no one does. There is something sacred about being misunderstood. It means you are walking your own path, not the path handed to you by society. Most people spend their whole lives trying to fit into a mold that was never designed for them. They wear smiles that aren't theirs, beliefs that were borrowed, dreams that belong to someone else. And because everyone is pretending, they recognize only other pretenders. The moment you stop pretending, you become a stranger in their world. Have you noticed how uncomfortable people become when you are simply authentic? If you are silent, they ask, "What's wrong?" If you are joyful for no reason, they ask, "What happened?" If you walk away from the drama, they call you cold or arrogant. They can only relate to the false, because truth threatens their illusions. When you live in truth, you mirror their prison, and most people are not ready to see the bars. So, misunderstanding is not a curse. It's the natural friction between truth and illusion. When a bird learns to fly, the cage cannot understand, and yet that friction is necessary. Without misunderstanding, there is no growth. Without the loneliness of being unseen, there is no maturity of soul. Every great transformation begins with this feeling: no one understands me. It is the cry of a soul that has outgrown its shell. Do not escape this loneliness. Go deeper into it, because hidden inside that loneliness is your true self, untouched, unfiltered, whole. When you stop running from it, it becomes solitude. And solitude is beautiful. It's not the absence of others. It's the presence of yourself. In solitude, understanding is no longer something you seek. It becomes the space in which you live. The world fears solitude because it reveals the truth. It strips away all the noise, all the roles, all the masks. You suddenly see that you are not the name you carry, not the profession, not even the personality you defend. You are consciousness itself, vast, silent, infinite. And who can understand infinity? No one. But that's the beauty. Infinity doesn't need to be understood. It only needs to be experienced. When you were a child, you didn't care about being understood. You played. You sang, you danced, you laughed for no reason. You were life itself. Understanding came later, imposed by society. Behave this way, speak this way, be like them. That's when you started performing. You learned that to be accepted, you must be predictable. And predictability kills authenticity. The more you try to make sense to others, the more you move away from your essence, Because your essence is wild. It doesn't fit into categories. It's not logical. It's paradoxical, just like existence. The trees don't explain their beauty. The stars don't explain their light. The ocean doesn't explain its depth. They simply are, and that is enough. So why do you think you need to explain? The day you accept being misunderstood, you reclaim your natural state. You start laughing again, dancing again, living again. You stop editing your emotions, your silence, your joy. You realize that truth doesn't need justification. It only needs presence. But there is a secret. When you begin to live this way, you will feel a strange shift. Your energy will change. You will become lighter, freer, unpredictable, and the world will try to pull you back. Friends will say you've changed. Family will say you're distant. Society will whisper, you've become strange. They are right. You have. You've become real. Being misunderstood is the first sign that you're no longer part of the collective hypnosis. You are waking up. And yes, awakening is painful because it destroys everything false. You will lose people, jobs, beliefs, identities. But what you gain is incomparable clarity. And once you see clearly, you can never go back. People will keep misunderstanding you. Let them. You are not here to adjust your light to their eyes. You are here to open your eyes to the vastness of your own being. Stop waiting for permission to be yourself. Existence already gave it to you. So next time you feel that ache, that no one sees you, no one understands you, smile. It's a sacred moment. It means you are entering the unknown. You are stepping out of the comfort of imitation into the adventure of truth. That discomfort is a birth pain, not a wound. Something new is emerging within you, and misunderstanding is simply the sound of your old world breaking. When you stop needing to be understood, you enter a new dimension of freedom. Suddenly, every relationship changes. You no longer interact to get something attention, approval, validation. You relate out of joy, out of overflow, not out of need. This is real love. Love without demand, without expectation. And ironically, only when you stop needing to be understood do you finally begin to understand others. Because now you see them without projection. You no longer want them to be a certain way. You simply observe, silently, compassionately. Most people are fighting invisible battles within. They too feel misunderstood, unseen, unheard. So when you stop seeking understanding from them, you create space for empathy. You see that their misunderstanding of you was never personal. It was their own confusion. Speaking, how can a heart full of fear understand love? How can a mind obsessed with control understand freedom? Understanding yourself becomes the ultimate compassion, because once you touch your own depths, you cannot judge another's shallowness. You simply see, and you smile. You stop demanding that people understand you, because you see how difficult it is even to understand yourself. You are infinite, layered, changing. And if you, with all your awareness, still struggle to grasp the totality of who you are, how could anyone else succeed? That's why I say, misunderstanding is not rejection. It's simply a reminder to return home. Every time you feel unseen, unheard, you are being called back to yourself. The pain of being misunderstood is a teacher disguised as loneliness. It tells you, stop looking outward. When you listen to that message, the pain transforms into power. Then, something extraordinary happens. Your silence begins to speak louder than your words. You start radiating an energy that others can feel even if they can't define it. They may still not understand you, but they are drawn to you. They feel safe around you, even if they don't know why. This is what I call presence. Presence does not need translation. It communicates through the heart, not the mind. Do not underestimate the power of your misunderstood self. Many times, your silence will awaken something in others that your explanations never could, because truth is contagious. When you live authentically, others around you begin to feel the pull toward their own authenticity. You may never know it, they may never say it, but your courage becomes a mirror for them. The world does not need more people who are understood. It needs more people who are real. It needs individuals brave enough to walk alone, to risk being different, to speak their truth even when it trembles. That's how transformation begins, one awake soul at a time. If you look at history, every person who brought light to humanity was misunderstood. Socrates, crucified for asking questions. Jesus, condemned for his love. Galileo, imprisoned for seeing truth. The crowd always misunderstands the one who sees clearly because clarity threatens comfort. But in the long run, truth always wins. Understanding may come centuries later, but what matters is not when you are understood. It's that you never betray what is true for you. So, if today you feel unseen, misunderstood, alien, celebrate it. You are in good company. You are walking the same road walked by all who dared to be awake in a sleeping world. You are not lost. You are ahead. And here is a beautiful secret. Once you are at peace with being misunderstood, you become untouchable. Criticism loses its sting. Rejection loses its weight. You no longer bend to please anyone. You live as existence meant you to live. Spontaneous, alive, unpredictable. You are no longer a prisoner of others' opinions. You become like the wind, invisible, yet deeply felt. Yes, it can be lonely at first, but that loneliness soon turns golden. It becomes solitude, strength, serenity. You start enjoying your own company. You discover that silence is not empty. It's full of answers. You realize that you were never truly alone. You were only surrounded by noise. When the noise fades, you meet the real yourself, existence, life itself. The misunderstanding that once felt like a wound now becomes your armor, not to defend, but to remind you that you don't need defense. You are whole. You are not here to be explained. You are here to be experienced. And when someone comes who can sit with your silence, who doesn't need to understand you, to love you, that's grace. That's real meeting. That's where understanding happens beyond the mind. There comes a moment when you no longer ask the world to meet you where you are. You simply stand there, in your truth, and watch who has the courage to come closer. That is the beauty of awakening. It filters your life without effort. The ones who are meant to understand your silence will stay, and the ones who need noise will drift away. This is not loss. It is purification. But when you stop needing to be understood, your relationships stop being bargains. You are no longer saying, I'll be this if you'll love me that way. You are simply being. Love that demands understanding is still part of the ego. But love that can sit in mystery, that is divine, that is rare, that is freedom. The real reason no one understands you is not because the world is cruel, it's because existence wants you to understand yourself first. Until then, even if the whole world says they understand you, it won't matter. You will still feel the same emptiness. Because the hunger is not for others' understanding. It's for your own awareness. When you see this, everything changes. You stop chasing mirrors and start lighting candles. You may have noticed that when you finally accept yourself, the loneliness dissolves. Even when you're alone, you don't feel lonely anymore. Because now you are connected to life itself, to the trees, the sky, the wind, the silence between words. You belong to the whole, not to a group. You are not an outsider. You are part of something far larger. And this understanding needs no explanation. People might still call you strange, distant, or mysterious. Let them. Those words are their way of saying, you are free. The world cannot name what it doesn't own. Don't waste your life translating your soul into their language. Instead, let your silence speak. Let your eyes, your laughter, your stillness do the talking. Because when you live from the center, your very presence becomes a teaching. You see, the misunderstanding was never truly between you and others. It was between you and yourself. You mistook your depth for a defect, your difference for a problem. But your difference is divine. It's the fingerprint of existence on your being. Existence never repeats itself. Not a single leaf, not a single cloud, not a single soul. You are meant to be unique. So how could anyone fully understand you? To be completely understood would mean to be ordinary, to be predictable, to be finished. But you are infinite. When you drop the need to be understood, you enter a state of playfulness. Life becomes lighter, easier. You stop taking everything personally. You stop defending, explaining, proving. You begin to live like a river, flowing, not begging the rocks to move. The river does not argue with the mountain. It finds its way around it. And in time, the river shapes the mountain itself. That is the power of understanding yourself. It transforms everything around you without effort. So next time you feel misunderstood, smile. Remember this. Existence is pushing you inward. It's saying, stop knocking on closed doors. Come home. And when you come home, when you finally rest in your own being, something magical happens. The whole world starts feeling different. Not because they've changed, but because you have. Now you don't need them to understand. You simply enjoy their presence. You don't need validation. You are validation itself. You don't seek love. You are love. That is the paradox of the awakened one. He is the most alone and yet the most connected. He belongs to no one and yet to all. People might still misunderstand his words, but they feel his essence. They might not understand what he says, but they understand how he is. That's enough. So if you feel no one understands you, remember, it is not a punishment, it is a gift. Existence has chosen you to wake up a little earlier than the crowd. Don't waste that opportunity by trying to fall back asleep just to be accepted. Let the misunderstanding burn away your need to be known. Let it carve space inside you for something bigger than understanding, awareness, and one day, when you look back, you will laugh. You will see that all those moments of pain, all the times you felt alone, all the times you tried to explain yourself and failed, they were steps toward freedom. They were the universe teaching you the most profound truth. To be real is to be misunderstood. And to be misunderstood is to be free. So, live your truth. Speak your silence. Let your being shine, even if no one understands the light. Because one day, someone will look into your eyes and not need to understand anything. They will simply feel the peace that radiates from you. And that peace will say everything that words never could. If this resonates with you, if somewhere deep inside you recognize this call, honor it. Sit in your silence tonight without trying to fix or explain anything. Just be. And if this message has touched you, share it. Not to convince anyone, but to remind others who also feel unseen that they are not alone on this path. Because perhaps, in this very misunderstanding, existence has found a way for us to finally understand not each other, but ourselves.